Hello everyone, Ace here and welcome to 2020, and what better way to start it off than to talk about Xbox emulation in the current year. Now, as some of you may be well aware, this is a topic that I've actually been covering for the past 2 years now, but it is nevertheless an important one. And it's safe to say that in the past year, the two competing emulators, specifically CXBX Reloaded and XQEMU, both had some significant progress made. But I do believe we need a quick recap on the previous year to provide some perspective here. Back in 2019, for example, I pointed out the fact that certain games actually ran surprisingly well on CXBX Reloaded. As it turned out, not only was Jet Set Radio Future running quite smoothly, but the same could also be said for Circus Maximus and Ghost Recon. In addition to that, other key titles such as Bloodwake and Mechasalt were actually playable but had severe graphical issues. And on the topic of XQEMU, a lot of progress had been made to make a lot more games playable, however it still suffered from the issue of having no audio support, and also being much more difficult to actually get set up. So at the time I recommended CXBX Reloaded over XQEMU. But now that a new year is upon us, let's actually have a look at the progress that's been made in both emulators. For a start, let's talk about CXBX Reloaded, which has made significant progress in both emulating Bloodwake and Mechasalt. In fact, from a graphical standpoint, Mechasalt actually runs quite smoothly. The only real issues at this point left are audio issues, with a lot of the sounds being incorrect, but the game is still nevertheless certainly playable. So by those standards alone, CXBX Reloaded has indeed made significant progress. However, this progress isn't just to games that already run on it, as CXBX Reloaded in 2020 actively plays more games. As adding to the list of playable titles, we now have Amped, Secret Weapons Over Normandy, Heroes of the Pacific, Star Wars Jedi Starfighter, and Star Wars Obi-Wan. And please keep in mind, this is by no means a comprehensive list. There are certainly other games out there that actually run on CXBX Reloaded as well. These just happen to be some of the ones that I've personally tested and have footage of. And while it is indeed true that at this stage some are prone to crashing while others do indeed have graphical issues, this is still no less a significant achievement. And this is before even discussing other games that have had improvements to their emulation, such as Kung Fu Chaos, even if they aren't necessarily playable at this stage. So all in all, things are looking pretty good for CXBX Reloaded. Now let's talk about XQEMU. And I must say some interesting developments have happened with regards to XQEMU as well. The most notable being that the developers have actually added sound to their own personal build of XQEMU. But I do need to put an emphasis on their own personal build, as the publicly available builds do not yet have audio support. And this is true even of public builds that have been released after the audio support was integrated into the developer build itself. So right now, XQEMU is in a very weird place where progress has been made, it's just that you personally don't really get to experience it at this time. And the other issue of it being rather difficult to set up is still definitely true in 2020 as well. So for the time being, I still at least have to recommend CXBX Reloaded over XQEMU. However, that could still change in the very near future. But there is one last development I need to mention regarding XQEMU, and that is the fact that it's been discovered to actually be runnable on the Nintendo Switch of all things. So we may actually see an XQEMU port on that particular system in the upcoming future. And I do have to admit, the idea of actually playing your favorite Xbox games on the go is a very interesting proposition. And it's also important to note that the footage you're seeing is of an XQEMU build that has not at all been optimized for the Nintendo Switch. So while it doesn't exactly run the best on the Switch right now, it certainly could be made to run much better on it down the line. So as you can see, the future looks quite promising for Xbox emulation. And it is something that I firmly believe in, as I view the Xbox as being one of the most underrated consoles of all time. In fact, I would also claim that the original Xbox is perhaps the first truly modern console, as it was, in a lot of ways, the testing ground for many ideas that are now standard to video game consoles, and the video game industry as a whole. So needless to say, I would argue that it is far more important to try to emulate this system than a lot of people may at first realize, as it has now become an integral part of video game history. So needless to say, I'm looking forward to what kind of progress is going to be made this year on Xbox emulation. But in any case, this has been Ace. Hope to see you guys again soon. Take care. Ace out.